Hola, everyone. I am your host, Steph, de Café con Steph, a bilingual podcast that focuses on connecting with other professionals that are passionate about education, arts, and career development. On our first episode, we will discuss fundraising in a nonprofit arts organization with a very special guest, Laura White. Laura is the Assistant Vice President in the Development Department at the Adrienne Arsht Center for the Performing Arts of Miami-Dade County. The Arsht Center's mission is to engage and connect people from every corner of their community through artistic excellence and inspiring educational experiences. They first opened in 2006 and are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Arsht Center is home for 3 resident companies, Florida Grand Opera, Miami City Ballet, and New World Symphony. Each year, they organize over 300 plus events that include a diverse series of Broadway musicals directly from New York, the largest jazz series in South Florida, and educational community engagement programming such as Family Fest, Free Gospel Sundays, and more. Laura, we are so excited to be learning more from you and your expertise. How are you doing today?
Hi, Steph. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you. So, Laura, why don't we start off with what is development and why do you think it's important in any organization?
That's a great place to start. So at the Arsht Center, as you mentioned, I'm on the development team, but you might hear in other organizations it's called advancement, or sometimes philanthropy is in there in the title, and it all means the same thing. We are fundraising for our organizations, and it's fundraising for contributed revenue. So it's the piece of the business, and for us specifically, that helps support all of those arts education and community engagement programs that are not revenue producing like our performances on our stages are. So we are the team that helps fundraise from whether it's foundations, corporate entities, governmental entities, or individuals that are passionate about supporting the work that we do.
Thank you. That was a great answer. And hearing from what you were saying, it seems that working with so many different organizations, whether it's governmental or higher education or big corporate companies, sometimes we come to challenges that can be hard to overcome. So what challenges are common within development, and how do you have any recommendations that you can give us?
Absolutely. So one of the main challenges is that we can't control what's happening in the economy. That affects the stock market. It affects employment. It affects marketing budgets, let's say, which is interesting that corporate, let's say a corporate organization actually wants to reach our audience, but they do that through sponsoring a program because they want their logo on something that a lot of our audience will see. Their marketing budgets are tightened when the economy is when you're unsure of what's going to happen with the economy. So that's something that we are always a challenge every day in this field, but one that we accept wholeheartedly. And for an organization like us, that is why it is important to have diversification when it comes to who supports this organization with philanthropy, because a great example is during COVID when everyone was unsure of what was going to happen. It was the government that stepped in, who helped organizations like ours when there wasn't any other money, and people just couldn't be philanthropic. That was just the reality of the world. And you might have noticed that our Miami-Dade County is in our name, so the county supports us. They built this building and they continue to support us. So we're lucky to have that, but then also we know that governments don't have endless money either. So sometimes that funding does go away. So then how do you reach out to different, if it is family foundations or individuals who are still in a position to give $5 or $500 or $5,000? You have relationships with all of those different kinds of people. And sometimes that's hard because that one-to-one relationship with any kind of those entities takes a lot of time, but it's important for the stability of the organization to have that diversified way of having philanthropy come into the building.
Great. Yeah. And so hearing about how diversification is important in any fundraising campaign and approach, so how would you measure the success of a fundraiser when having these unpredictable changes within the market?
It can change day to day. I'll say that at the highest level, and as a budget is formed for an organization like ours, we do have very specific goals that we are trying to build strategy and make sure that we can reach those goals. But beyond that, there's always other things that we're trying to do. So maybe it's that we have all these members who would support the organization pre-COVID, but now they're just slowly coming back to the center to offer a performance. So maybe now is a perfect time to have a renewal campaign. So that is, we're just talking to people who used to be engaged with us, that maybe we can get them re-engaged and they'll start supporting us again. So it could be number of donors depending, or that you want to engage your board more. But what does engagement mean? It might not actually mean dollars. It might mean how many of their corporate contacts did they introduce us to that led to even one relationship. Because of course, not every door open leads to a gift, but even if one does that we didn't have at the beginning of the fiscal year that a board member brought to us, that's a huge win for us, regardless of what the dollar amount is. So again, that there are lots of different things that are successes for us that maybe aren't tied to a dollar today, but could potentially lead to a dollar in the future, because again, and I'm not sure if I said this clearly at the beginning, but fundraising is really about those relationships, and those get built over time.
That was an amazing answer. It kind of goes into my next question, because part of fundraising is building those relationships with those donors. How do you suggest cultivating relationships with donors, especially even through a really big crisis like the pandemic?
So it depends on the person. So that's also why it's a challenge, because there is no one fit all scenario. So something like the pandemic specifically was an interesting time because people didn't want to meet in person. So it was actually teams like ours learned that, video conferencing or having conversations over video, that there is still value, that maybe we deprioritize that before, but actually it's more convenient for the donor even sometimes to have that virtual call, but that you still can have connection. So again, it goes sometimes back to preference of how they want to have a relationship with you and how they want to be communicated with. But it goes back to a corporate endeavor, why their giving is different. So their expectations and how they want to interact with us is different than a board member or even a major donor. And every major donor, they have something they care about. Maybe it is something on the stages that they help commission a new work that's something special, or with Miami artists. Or maybe they do want to support one of our education programs. So it is learning about them and what they care about, and then creating those experiences so that they see what the impact would be or is of their giving, that their gift will make a difference where they want it to. So it's great work because you do get to know people, but you can't show them that impact without learning first what is important to them.
Yeah, and do you think that it's also important to have a diverse team within development, because having different amounts of donors, you know, it's how you were saying, even if it's someone that's donating $5 or someone that's doing a commission work, is it important to have diversity within a team of development to know how to approach those certain donors?
Absolutely. And I think it's become even more apparent, again, just with how everyone is reckoning with what it means to be diverse on a team, but then also what value that brings, that everybody has different experiences and that will relate with different people in different ways that someone else can't. Not good or bad. It's just, I was talking with a colleague yesterday about, you know, what brought me to the arts originally was that experience you have in a theater with 500 or 2,000 other people that nobody else had that experience, and you just had it all together. I mean, it often still brings me to tears, and I've been doing it for a long time. It's for me, there's something very impactful about that experience, and a lot of us have had that when we were young and realized, well, we want to be a part of that for the rest of our lives. So even though that's my story and what I'm passionate about, and I can get passionate about the other pieces, and because I think it's all important, but other people's experiences will have a different story that they bring, that they could connect with someone differently than I do, not just in performing arts, but everything about their lives. It's incredibly important.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think that's why, you know, we continue to advocate for the arts and knowing that it's so important in people's lives, and we are making a change in whether it's a student that's in elementary school or someone that's already an adult that's coming to watch in our theater for the first time. So going back to donors and the important in cultivating those relationships, when you already have a donor that's been here for a while, how do you go about, you know, asking for a second or third gift from them, you know, consistently building up that relationship? Is it more difficult when they've been here for longer, or does it make it easier on you and on the team?
I think you're going to hear a theme here that it depends on the donor, but I will say it's interesting as you talk to, I've been lucky enough to work with some people who have been in the fundraising business and are very passionate about it for a long time, and they will tell you that everybody has different strategies on the right way, and this is specifically thinking about with individuals, because sometimes with corporations there is opportunity, but a lot of times that is if there are extra benefits. So we can always put different packages together to try to get higher sponsorship levels from corporations, but specifically for individuals, you know, there's just certain language that you leave it open to, that we would love to have you start a new commitment with us that is at XYZ level. Something to the effect of that we don't know what your financial picture is right now, or what, you know, but we're so grateful for what you've done for us in the past. Would something like this be possible? And the only thing they can say is no. There's no reason not to ask, because you never know unless you ask. But then even if they say no, this specific conversation I was having, she just always immediately says, well, can we keep talking? And they always say, yes, of course we can keep talking. So the goal is to just maintain the relationship, and don't be afraid to ask. And it always comes back to that relationship you have with the person. And the answer might be no, but that's okay. You just keep having the conversation.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we're going into our last question. And this one, you know, is more for the students and colleagues that are interested in coming into development and being in the team that fundraises for the arts. So what wisdom can you share with future students that are interested in being in this type of work?
So I will say that there are so many required skills within philanthropy, and you can come at it from so many ways. It's almost a niche thing that people don't know a lot about, but my way through was marketing, and because there are, again, it goes back to there's so many different kinds of ways to do it and different kinds of relationships you have to build. But I will say right now, specifically thinking about, we have someone who loved events and now she has transitioned. We have a PhD in communication and now she handles all of our stewardship, which is thanking the donors and making sure they know that, not that you need a PhD, but the point of like that you can come from communications and be passionate about it. We have someone who from the Frost School of Music who has their degree in violin and now is here and is realizing this is really what she wants to be doing. So I think it's unique in that way, that if you care about an organization and you're passionate about it, you're able to use the skills that you have in some form and help the organization reach these people in special ways, and that they feel the impact and that they will give to us and help support what we're doing.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Thank you for your wisdom that you had to share with us. Thank you, everyone that was listening into this podcast. We hope that you were able to gain something valuable and know how to continue to approach your organization and fundraising. And we hope that everyone that's listening continues to support the arts, because we know that it is an important movement in our culture, in our society, to be able to share music education and arts to all of the world. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Laura, for having you, and we'll see you on our next episode.